When court resumes, we're, 19 minutes away now. Attorneys on both sides will try to winnow a pool of as many as 6,000 prospective jurors down to just 18. That'd be 12 jurors and then 6 alternates. That is a process they're expecting to take days, potentially even a couple of weeks. And Donald Trump has insisted, as we've said here, that he can't get a fair trial, in part because he lost Manhattan overwhelmingly in the last couple of elections. But the process involving that lengthy questionnaire, extensive questioning by attorneys on both sides, is specifically designed to make sure that he can get a fair trial.
And remember, as Judge Chuck Rosenberg and other lawyers have told us, the judge is not looking for people who don't know anything about the case, try to find someone who doesn't know anything or have an opinion about Donald Trump. The goal is to find jurors who can set aside any preconceived notions and deliver a fair and unbiased verdict. So I want to bring in J. Lee Miles, a veteran trial consultant with 40 years of experience working on numerous high-profile trials involving Michael Jackson and Robert Blake, just to name a few. She's also Executive Vice President of Decision Quest. Catherine Christian and Ari Melber, of course, are also with us. So, J.Lee, thanks for being with us today. Talk to me about what you as a prosecutor or you as a defense lawyer are going to be looking for in a potential juror.
Thanks very much for having me. This is fascinating. Obviously, this is a historic trial. So from my perspective and experience, what I'd be concerned about is knowing that at least a third to a half of the venire, the jury panels, pretty much made up their mind as to guilt or innocence. However, and also in my experience, when you get to trial and you're now facing a judge, that number dwindles dramatically. And maybe only 5 or 10% will actually disclose that they have a bias that they cannot set aside. One, they want to say the socially desirable thing. It's all about confirmation bias. So this is a very interesting process because my understanding is that they're going to be asked questions in a very transparent way. All the jurors in the box, the group that's first brought into the courtroom will be asked questions orally so that everybody can hear them. And so that's going to, from my perspective, very, very interesting, since both sides are obviously looking for agendas, stealth jurors, et cetera.
As a jury consultant, I'd love it if you try to explain to us exactly what you do in that courtroom. I mean, this is the one scenario where it's okay to profile, and you're going to get, answers to those questions. What else are you looking for as the individual jurors are selected?
So, and you all have touched on so many of the topics already. Number one, from a prosecutor's perspective, they've got to be concerned about this being low-level felonies. So they're looking for jurors who believe in the justice system, believe that the current laws as they exist should be applied, and that no one is above the law, not even a former president. So they make the case about a fair prosecution of crimes that are serious and that should have consequences. Whereas if I'm on the defense side, I'm very interested in a different slant or approach to the political motivation as to why someone might be on this case. It's not so much about fair prosecution, it's the unfair persecution and distrust in the justice system, which unfortunately has really been growing over the last several years. And election interference and, looking for people who feel they too have been wrongfully accused.
Are you doing a little bit more as well, beyond just the words that they give in their answers? Are you looking for body movements? Are you reading their body language? Are you judging them based on the way that they're holding themselves or whether they blink too much, that sort of thing? Is there really an art to this?
There is. And the longer you're in the business, the more art you realize there is to doing your job. My first 20 years, I probably focused more on the science. My last 20 years, it's been much more the art of it because you really do learn what signals to look for, what body language, the nonverbal communication, as you've already pointed out. People will be reacting, potential jurors will be reacting to what other jurors are saying in response to questions, by either side as well as by the judge. And keep in mind, this is always about deselection. And in other high-profile cases, I have to also say it's surprising how many jurors have sent notes to the court to let them know about comments they've overheard in the jury assembly room from other jurors who are looking to get on for the wrong reasons.
They're tattletaling on each other.
Yeah, that also leads me
Sometimes
to,
that happens.
I wonder when you've had these famous folks who were on trial, the Robert Blakes, the Michael Jacksons, how much you watch for the jurors watching them. Can opinions already start to form about a defendant just by seeing how they behave? If they're engaged, if they're talking, if they're any kind of movement that you note from a jury trying to assess the defendant.
Yeah, you know, and it's interesting. It's almost kind of a flip answer to that, and that is what I'm looking for are jurors looking at the defendant. If I'm on the defense side, I'm very interested in who can, who wants to, who's studying the defendant, watching their expressions. I think most people who know anything about this trial are expecting Donald Trump to display some emotions and make some faces. So I would imagine jurors, especially if they're not wearing masks, you'd be able to see reactions to some of those facial expressions and be looking for the same kinds of, you know, are they in sync or are they judging?
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.